Well, welcome to the 8th of 9 videos looking at how to plan a traditional project management project. And what we're going to do during this particular video is explore in greater detail the ideas of a critical path and the ideas of slack. So let's look at this for a second. As you recall in the last video, we kind of walked through those numbers on the top of each box to calculate a early start, early finish, all the way through the project. That was our forward pass. And then we went backwards and calculated the numbers at the bottom of each of those boxes, which is our latest start, latest finish associated with each project. And then what you can do is take that earliest start, latest start, or earliest finish, latest finish, and subtract them from each other. And you're going to calculate what the slack is going to be for that particular project. So going to A, 1 minus 1 equals 0, or 1 minus 1 equals 0 in that case. Going to B, 2 minus 2 is 0, 4 minus 4 is 0. 5 minus 5 in the case of block D is 0. 9 minus 9 is 0. 10 minus 10 is 0, and 12 minus 12 is 0. So as you go across that top series of tasks that are in red, you have a slack of 0. In other words, that path determines the length of the project. That's your critical path. Okay. When you look at the bottom, 3 minus 2 is 1, or 4 minus 3 is 1 in the case of block C. You have a slack of 1, and you're indicating that with a 1 in the middle. You have some wiggle room there. And when you look at E, the same thing happens. 8 minus 4 is 4, or 9 minus 5 is 4. All right? So that allows you to calculate the slack associated with a particular project. All right, so we've identified what the critical path is. That's the path that's going to identify the length of the overarching project. We've got an alternative path here that has some slack in it, and we've been able to calculate by subtracting either the late finish minus the early finish, or the latest start minus the earliest start, or the latest finish minus the earliest finish to calculate what the slack is in each of the boxes. All right, let's move forward now. Here's just a different representation in terms of where you have slack. Although typically it's a early start minus a late start that's going to calculate that slack for you. The total slack is going to be the time that a task can be delayed without impacting the early schedule of a project. And then the free slack is going to be the time a task can be delayed without impacting the early schedule of its successor tasks. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on either of these ideas, free slack or total slack, but the idea of slack is important because it does help drive where you have some flexibility. You don't want to use it to bail out a project. You want to actually schedule the project so that it can be completed on time and effectively, but it is important to know where your critical path is and where you've got some slack so that you can make the appropriate trade-offs. If you have challenges in tasks associated with your critical path, then you're going to have to address them or your project length is going to increase. All right, so as you're building your initial dependency diagram, you're going to go through and start by creating all of the task sticky notes, if you will, or either in the software tool or inside on just a whiteboard. And then you start moving and adding those tasks and continue until everything has been moved into the diagram. All right, well, very good. This concludes the 8th of 9 videos. During this video, we looked really at the ideas of critical path and of slack. I showed you mechanisms for calculating that slack. What we're going to do in the last video is look at schedule compression, managerial reserve, and the project proposal, building that project proposal. So keep on learning, keep on studying, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.